Hi everybody, my name is Dr. Cheryl Meyer. Today we're going to talk about when you feel like you can't cope and what that means so you can understand it on a deeper level, right? So I'm a psychologist in my day job. I'm also a licensed lay minister, and I love combining the spiritual path and psychology, and I've always done that. My school integrated both. If you want to know more about me, you can watch some of my other videos because I talk about it in lots of other videos, but I want to get right to the point on this, right? So what our egotism does is we have experiences from our childhood, and I want you to understand this because this is like crash course, right? When we had experiences in childhood where things were chaotic or out of our control, we just felt overwhelmed. We shut down. We're little kids and they're the big grown-ups, you know? And so we're used to things going out of control. And if you had a childhood like that, or if you had parents that didn't know how to self-regulate, or any kind of those situations, it's not just that, it's just our egotism. So you are a soul in a body, right? I was just listening to this great John Butler video. I will make sure to link it. Let me make a note because I want to make sure that you guys get this link. I don't always watch my videos over before I post them, but I'm going to post this today. I plan to. So link John Butler. It's so good, but he was talking about, he talked about this. His video will help you so much with any psychological problem you are experiencing. I just want to let you know, because I know I've been a psychologist the last 20 plus years, and I know good medicine, and I want you always to have the very best. So that's why sometimes my videos, I just pack as much in as possible. That's like with my clients. I might never see them again. I want them to have all of the information they need and all of the skills and understanding, the insight they have in this one session as much as we can, you know, but you don't want to overwhelm people, right? That's what we were just talking about, is this. Okay. And so John Butler was talking about, look, if we come from the oneness, from God up here, and we're in duality, there's you and me and then God. And he's like, don't forget the apex of this. It's just like the Trinity he was talking about, you know, there's a relationship, but this is a relationship too. When you learn how to connect back to the oneness, back to how to calm yourself down, how to regulate yourself. This is like a shortcut for how to regulate yourself. But this guy, John Butler, that I'm going to recommend, has been meditating for 60 years, every day. I meditate every day, but he's been doing it for 60 years, and I have not been doing it for 60 years. I've been doing it for a long, long time, since childhood in some way, but I learned this other way in the last 5 years that I've been doing every day, most every day. Anyway, I learned this thing from this guy named David James Lease. I think that's his name. He does Wu Wei Wisdom. This thing that I learned from him is so important and so helpful for us, right? Maybe I can get him on. Maybe, I don't know if he goes with other people on my channel or wherever I am on social media, wherever you're finding me. But he says what the egotism does, and Eckhart Tolle talks a lot about this in The Power of Now too, and I have a whole year-long class on this. So I'm not just trying to tell you what I have, I'm just saying I made 49 one-hour videos on this helping people get through that book from my own perspectives as a psychologist, as a spiritual psychologist, if you want to call it spiritual, you know, integrating the spiritual path and psychology. But anyway, going back to what David Lease says is that the egotism, and what Eckhart Tolle says is egotism goes immediately to criticize, compare, and judge. It always wants to criticize other people, or criticize what's going on, or criticize yourself, or compare you to other people, or start judging other people. When you judge yourself, you feel this one part of yourself feels important because it's judgmental. When you judge other people, you feel an immediate sense of high because you're judging. Like, I'm better, they're less. Just like what I was talking about this, I'll bring this all together, is this is the duality that we're in. This is the oneness that we came from. This is why when you sit and you meditate and you sit with God in peace, in like this cloud of unknowing, above the clouds, right? Above whatever's going on around you, and you take time every day. It's like if your mind knows every day that you're going to take some time to be quiet and let go of everything. This is why I go roller skate by the ocean. That big expanse of the ocean reminds me, it's like a picture of the image of God, how the divine love, God is love. You don't even have to believe in God to understand what I'm saying. Go to the ocean, go to nature. Nature represents God in a way. Nature is not God. It's everything is made out of God, made out of the substance of God. Anyway, so its characteristics, all of the good shows you how God is. And so this giant ocean and the giant sky, I can just let go of all my problems and give them to God. And the more you practice giving them, the more you learn how to trust and how to self-regulate. Now, just as a psychologist, I can say there's all these tools. There's like tapping. You can tap. I have a TikTok on how to tap because I learned it from this guy that's a specialist in tapping. And what that does is it just releases chemicals that calm you down when you're all triggered. Because when you're triggered, you go into fight, flight, freeze, or please, right? Those four, okay? So understand these things. You can write these down, or someone can write them in the comments, or I might have them in the description. I might not have them today. They're in a lot of the description of all my other videos. So I have over 600 videos you can watch. I welcome all the new subscribers. Thank you for following, all the new followers and everything. I welcome you here. Right now, I really want to help you be equipped for how to cope when you feel like you can't cope, okay? So we're getting to that, right? And so I love what David Lease was saying. He was saying in the Wu Wei Wisdom Guy, he was saying, we go to CCJ, we go when we get into fear mode, you know, when we get into triggered mode, when we get into everything looks chaotic, or when we're in our egotism, which is just duality, when we're not in our soul essence and feeling, you know, expansive and creative and alive and vibrant and like at peace and all of those good feelings, right? We can go into our egotism, which goes into criticizing and comparing ourselves with other people and judging, right? It's just how it's trying to cope in that moment because it believes we are just this little, just this physical being, not a soul in a physical body. You have this physical body. You've been given to it. You've been given it. You know, you have it. You have your emotions and your thoughts and your programming from childhood, how you were taught what a man ought to do, what a woman ought to do, what a person ought to do, how we can have intimacy, how we can have love, how we can have friendships, how safe are friendships, how we can be educated and have school and all of these kinds of things. You pick these all up from your environment, from the collective subconsciousness, the collective consciousness, and from our parents' consciousness, what they learned, okay? So I give the example because I can't always use my clients, you know, their examples. Some of them have given me permission, but still, you know, they're like, use all my examples you want on your videos. If that's going to help other people, use that, you know, and I appreciate that. But I have to disguise all of it. And so I use my experience that I've had. And I don't just say, well, this certain client was this age and blah, 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 you know, but what I'm saying is when we go into that can't cope, there's a lot of things we just picked up unconsciously, subconsciously from our society, from our parents, okay, so I do give that example sometimes of like, if you had my father was perfectionistic in a lot of ways, and his dad was very perfectionistic and spanked him all the time. I had experiences with that grandfather where he spanked me because I was afraid of the dark when my sister was being born. And, you know, like really hard. I remember the spankings and I remember being in trouble and I remember crying my eyes out. And I was 4 because she was 4 years younger than me, right? And so that's when it happened. And so when you have experiences like that, where people go over your own physical boundaries because they think it's the right thing to do or whatever, then you can start having other experiences in life where it's just like, this is out of my control. I'm going to get hurt. I'm going to die. Like, I didn't know if I was going to die or not. It hurt. You know what I mean? And my parents were out at the hospital having my sister. My mom was having her. My dad was with my mom. So I didn't have my parents around. I was in a different place and they wanted to turn off the lights. So they wanted to turn off the lights, which I wasn't used to. And they were spanking me. And, you know, all this stuff was going on. All I'm saying, I'm giving us an example so we can understand where these feelings come from, okay? And so what David Leese was saying is that we have the CCJ, which helps us understand this, right? So I'm attributing where I got his acronyms. I love acronyms, you know. Like I do ROSE. I have one here. This was given to me in a meditation. ROSE is rise, open your soul eyes. Always learn that you are a soul. Stay in your soul as much as you can, and it'll ground yourself, your feet on the ground. But remember, when you remember you are a soul, you remember to go up to this, to that, not the duality. In duality, in life here, we're going to have the yin and the yang, the passive and the active, you know, the darkness and the light, the experiences. We're in the world, but not of the world. We're in this world. I have a heart one. So we're in this world. So we experience, you know, people being disrespectful or unkind or not protecting or whatever it is, you know, things come up. Like I just went through a surgery with one of my kids and I never faced that before, but I thank God for all of the years that I've been doing meditation, or I would have never made it through that week like I did, you know, with calmness, with presence, with deep listening, with it's so worth it. But it takes doing the work. It takes following the discipline, you know. And so the other three that happens in when you go into egotism, when you leave that peaceful state, you know, you get triggered by someone. We all can be triggered by a circumstance or people, right? And you go to these three as well. I am not enough, I am unlovable, or I can't cope. And so right now I just wanted to address the I can't cope one. You know, it's always, we can be like, I'm not enough, you know, or I feel unlovable, or I think I'm unlovable. Those are all lies. You are always lovable. You are always worth loving 100% of the time, 100% of love, right? If people don't know how to love you, then that's on them. It doesn't have anything to do with your worth. You are always worth loving. And you can cope. You can cope. It's just, we go into this mode, I know, because I experienced this trauma in childhood, and we think everything's going to fall apart. We think we're not going to be able to do it. And I want you to know that you can. You can learn how. You can learn these skills. You can learn how to be confident. You know, I didn't know how to do all these skating tricks first time I put my skates on. I was wobbly at first, you know, and so it's like, if we've never had to go to the hospital for something, you know, we had before, you know, some other scare that we had. And so we were kind of prepared by that other scare to do this. And other people that have had to go to the hospital lots of times were there. We could ask them for resources. So you can ask for resources. You can ask God always to help you. You can practice meditation now for when the storms come. You know how to calm yourself down. You can practice regulating yourself. You can practice watching your thoughts so that you know you are not your thoughts. You don't have to believe all of these thoughts that come up. They just come up. And so as you practice knowing yourself as a soul in a body, thankful for this body is part of who you are, but you are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. And I'm just giving you these skills so that you know, I want you to know that you can cope. I have over 600 videos to teach you. Watch these videos over and over and over again. I have one called How to Hack Your Life. You know, and that teaches you a lot of this stuff in way more depth. I'm going to only leave this at 15 minutes today so it can go on Instagram as well. But I want you to know you can cope. Take deep breaths. Practice disciplines in your life like prayer, like meditation, like exercise, All of these will calm you down so you can get back into this place of knowing that you can cope and you are worth it and you are lovable, and this is just a new experience. I wish you so much love.